Okay, I hope that everybody can see my screen. Um, we're gonna be recording this session and hopefully pass the video on. Yes.
الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على سيد المرسلين أما بعد جزاكم الله خير for coming. You can see the response is obviously a very important topic and it's something which is concerning everyone. And obviously we should do because it's for the future generation and it's for the Muslim Ummah and our children going forward. Me and Abdullah have had a discussion previously before on this topic informally. And then he informed me that he actually works for Jaguar Land Rover. That's correct, yeah?
Yep.
He works for Jaguar Land Rover, which is obviously a very reputable company, doing this apprenticeship program. And the way he described it to me, I was actually very shocked to know that there is something like that exists. And there are a lot of people asking about student loans. It's not even a small number. There's a lot of people that are confused about it. And there are a lot of Muslims that get involved with student loans and they end up regretting it. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us in the Quran, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will destroy riba. And this is from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that riba has no barakah and there's no khayr in it. To the extent that some of the ulama have said that riba, there is never a necessity for riba. How can the ulama say that? That is because in Islam there are plenty of options financially where you can seek a halal alternative. But when it comes to education, obviously we are restricted, the fees are quite expensive, etc. So a lot of people go down this channel not knowing what the alternatives are. And we thank Allah and we thank Allah again that He has opened this up for us. And then this is there and a lot of people don't know about it. He's going to explain a bit more when it comes to the actual process of it, the logistics of it and how it actually works. But it's very simple with what he's explained to me, and even the PowerPoint presentation is probably it's about 10 slides or something like that. It's very short and we're not going to be here for long, inshallah. That's how simple it is. But what the person will get from it, not only will they have an option to work for a reputable company, but they will get a salary. So your children will go straight into work, working for a big company, which is what the end result is anyway. We want them to have, a very good career working for a company. This company will welcome them in. They'll pay them a salary, and correct me if I'm wrong in anything I'm saying, and they will study. This is how apprenticeships work. I'm sure you're familiar with apprenticeships anyway. They will study for a particular period during the week. When their term is over, so when their studies are over and they've worked with this company for a period of time, the company will then send them off to university to complete their BA honours, and the company will pay for the BA honours. So can you imagine now, at the end of all of this,
It happens alongside, yeah.
Oh, it happens alongside it?
Yeah, so they're studying the degree.
MashaAllah, that's even better. So what happens now is that person, that child who's gone into that environment, not only are they getting the experience from day one, which gives them an advantage compared to their colleagues in university or university level, because they haven't got the experience, whereas these people have. They're getting paid, and all their fees are also covered as well. Now, I don't want to go into this too much, but like I said, I think that this is a very important blessing from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Because when you know you've got that kind of stability in your life, it opens up a lot of khair otherwise as well. There's a lot of people that go through different problems in themselves, in their homes, people who are young, they want to get married, but they can't get married. So they wait and they wait and they wait. And there could be other things as well. I know of a situation where there was a person, young person, everybody else in their home have some kind of disability or mental illness or something like that. So this was actually a sister, and she says, I am the only person that can actually go to university and change the situation in my home financially. Otherwise, we're suffering. So she goes off and studies, takes the student loan, then ends up regretting it because she wants to do something which is good for her family. This here can change everything from the very beginning of the apprenticeship because the person's getting paid. The person is learning and they're benefiting and they're gaining experience. And that is already now creating the foundations and the stability that the person wants 6, 7, 8, 10 years later. And it starts off from a very early age. So we thank Allah that He has given us an alternative from something which is clearly haram. Inshallah, maybe we're going to be talking about student loans later. But here now, I'll let Abdullah explain a bit more about how this apprenticeship works. Well,
Okay.
Yes.
Recorded.
Yeah,
I believe so.
I'm there and there. Okay, so just as a disclaimer, first of all, I'm not representing JLR, by the way. So I'm choosing JLR as a case study because I've worked there, but I'm not like a recruiter for them. And so I'll give you like other options, other firms that you can work for. So what are degree apprenticeships? So as Ustadh Ariff explained, there is a working arrangement and there's a university side of things. So you'll be working for this company, and alongside working, you will get these blocks, basically, these specific times where you can go and study for your university, and you will get specific times to do your assignments and things such as that, and you will get a degree at the end of it. That's part of your contract. So there's two aspects to it. There's a working arrangement aspect to it, and there's the university aspect to it. So with regards to the working arrangement, you'll be working full-time. So you'll be classed as a full-time employee. So that means that the minimum hours on your contract are like 30 hours, but in most cases, it's like 37 to 40. But then the next bit is that a minimum of 20% of this working time you will be spending on university. Most companies, they allocate 25% to 30%, but a minimum of 20% you'll be spending at university. So for example, if you are working 40 hours a week, at least 8 hours of those 40 hours, you will be spending on university. And this won't be 8 hours from your weekend. This will be 8 hours during your working time. So for me, it's Friday, but we'll go over that. Your employer will pay for all of your tuition fees. So that means that you don't have to think about anything. The university will never contact you for tuition fees. They're never going to do that. And your pay would be part of a contract, and you'll also get pay rises as the years go on, based on certain conditions that the employers might set. And you don't have to stay with the company. So this is very important because some people come to me and say that, well, do they make you stay like 2 years after the program? You don't have to stay at all. In fact, during the program, you could leave. But yeah, so you don't have to stay at the company. At the moment you get your degree, you can leave if you want. So the university side of things. So the university course that you undertake is chosen by the firm, and they choose for you and they also apply for you. So you only have to apply to the degree apprenticeship. You don't apply to the university, but they tell you in the application, this is the university that you will be going to, and this is the course that you will be doing. And you can search that course up and you can see what the modules are and things such as that.
So you don't get a choice as to which university you go to.
Yeah, so the company decides that. So
it could be in Leicester, it could be outside of Leicester.
it could be in Leicester, outside Leicester, yeah. So you will be given the status of a part-time student. That doesn't affect anything. It's just something that you should know. Sometimes accommodations say that, oh, we will only take full-time students. So that's just something that you should know. And the degree will be a Bachelor's of Honors, or in some cases a Master's. I think someone at the back asked me regarding if there's Master's options. Yes, there are. So you could actually do a Master's this way as well. And with regards to the length, because you're a part-time student, the normal degree for engineering and business would be about 3 years. But for a degree apprenticeship, it would be about 4 years, 1 more year. It's not too bad. For something like law and accounting, we're looking at 5 to 6 years. Again, it's not too bad because you're getting paid alongside it. And upon graduation, your grades will be as a normal degree is. So first, 2-1, 2-2, third. So it's basically a pretty standard degree, but you'll be doing it as a part-time student, and it will be paid for. So financially, what does it cost you? I think we've gone over this, but nothing, because your tuition fees will be paid for, and you'll be getting paid a salary, and that salary will be more than enough to cover all your maintenance costs. Obviously, when you're moving out, you might have to pay like a deposit on rent, but that might be the only cost that you really incur. But aside from that, and there's another thing that I noticed, if you want to apply to a university full-time, you have to pay £26 just to apply. If you want to apply to a degree apprenticeship, you don't have to pay any money. It's on the website, so you just apply for it and you don't have to pay anything. So I'm using JLR as a case study just to give people a better understanding of what's going on. So in JLR's case, you get about 25 to 30% allocated to your university. So for my case, it's every Friday I get off for studying, and after every 4 to 5 weeks, I get a full week where they just give me lectures. So it's as in it's a university lecture. So I go to university for every week after 4 to 5 weeks. And the starting salary is about £24,500. And here are three options. So in the scheme, they're currently offering three options. And so where it says level 6, that means bachelor's. So the degree that you will get would be a bachelor's. And for each of these degrees, you have different pathways. So it depends on what you apply for. So if you apply for digital and technology solutions software engineering, so that will be the pathway that you end up doing. So if you're more into computer science software engineering, I would recommend this standard. And this is normally, the name sounds strange, but it's nothing to be scared with. Basically, what they did was a bunch of firms and a bunch of universities got together and they wanted to make a standard. And so that's what this standard is called. So this is what we want a software engineer working at our firm to do. And so they negotiated with the university. The university said that, well, we also want to teach them this and this and this. And so they came up with the standard. So this is what the standard is called. And then these are the pathways that you choose. Your degree will say digital and technology solutions. And then in brackets, it would say your pathway. So you have three options. In the case of JLR, in most companies, you tend to have three options. So there's a business option. If you're into supply chain, logistics, new product and launch, that's actually pretty fun. I've done a placement there. And you have the engineering side of things. So this is pure engineering. So this would be more like mechanical engineering focused. And so you have different pathways there. And then software engineering, so cybersecurity, software engineering as a general, data science, things such as that. So this is the application process. The reason why I put that there is because the majority of the companies have the same thing. So there's the initial online application. You submit your CV, your cover letter. You might write like a couple of paragraphs. And then you do some online testing. So the moment you submit your application, they send you in some online tests. This is based on maths, English, and some psychometry tests to make sure you're not a psychopath, I guess. And you have an online assessment center. So if they like the way that you performed in your exams and your initial application, they will invite you, and you'll have about 3 interviews on that day. So one of them will be a technical interview just to understand how you are technically. One of them will be just to see the types of skills that you have, the types of skills that you value. And another one would be just to ask, well, what do you want to do? Because just in case you get an offer, they would want to put you in the right team. So most companies have that process. So this is something that my parents were personally concerned about a lot, and even I was concerned about it a lot. So this snippet, this is something that isn't aimed towards students. This was aimed towards firms, and a lot of these are very true. So mainly the reason behind degree apprenticeships at the firms, the reason why they introduced it was because there's a massive skills shortage. There's not enough software engineers, there's not enough engineers, and they want to get students at a younger age. They can't wait for them to complete that degree, and then the application process starts. And even when students complete the degrees, what they learn at university is so different to what they learn at work and what they're doing at work, because the projects that you'll be working at university, they'll be small compared to the stuff that you're doing at work. So, from their perspective, it's very, very beneficial to have someone there at a young age where they could kind of mold them around the company strategy. They can teach them how things are done in the corporate world. And another thing, that degree apprenticeships are at a starter level, but they've been doing something similar at a much higher level. So these are known as executive MBAs. So it tends to be this might be like a senior manager at a firm. And so they might say that, well, we want to make this guy a director, but we don't know if he's going to be capable enough. We don't know. So they'll offer him an MBA known as an executive MBA, where he'll do it over a course of 2 to 3 years. And they'll say, once you're done with it, we'll promote you to a director. So this has been happening for quite a few years. Degree apprenticeships, I think, started in 2015. So yeah. So how and where to apply? This is very important, because after this, if you're convinced, then you want to know where to apply. The first things first, you want a list of firms, and you want to know the nature of those firms as well. You're trying to avoid riba, but you don't want to go and work in a bank, because banks also offer degree apprenticeships. You would want a CV and cover letter. You would want your O-level or GCSE grades, and you would want your A-level predicted grades as well at the time of application. So most people would be applying in their gap year, so they might already have their grades. And some people may be applying in year 13, so they might have their predicted grades. So basically, that's what you need. And you need 3 years of residency in the UK. So this depends from company to company, by the way. But this is according to the funding laws. You need to be a resident in the UK for 3 years. Some firms might say that you need to actually be a citizen. It depends on their nature. So here are some examples. All of these firms, I just managed to get it from off of this link on the useful links page, which I'll pass around. And there's a bunch over there. People can take a picture of it. There are lots of these firms that you can apply for, and some of them are very well known. So like you could go and work for the enemy if you like. You could go work for the likes of the BMW Group. That's a pretty massive company. There's a lot of construction firms, and it shows that a lot of firms, they see the value in this stuff. There's a clear value behind it. That's why so many firms have invested for it. The likes of Siemens, they, they're big firms, and so that's one way to find out. So these are all the bigger employers, but you can find out the smaller employers as well. So let's say that you want to stay within Leicester. There's this government website that you can go to, and again, it's on the useful links page. You click search, and then you can add some keywords. So you can add your location. If you want to be really, really far away from your parents, you can say within England. If you want to be close, you can say within 10 miles. And for the apprenticeship level, you select degree. And degree, this would cover masters and bachelors. If it says level 7, that's a master's. If it says level 6, that's a bachelor's degree. But I think right now on there might be like 300 different advertisements for different
So
companies.
what kind of subjects would be covered in the apprenticeship? Because all of these that you've given examples of on this page, a lot of them got to do with technology and engineering.
Yes.
What other kind of fields can a person get into when it comes to apprenticeships?
Well, so there is the business side of things as well. So if someone's very into how to manage events, so there are business apprenticeships available as well. Other than that, if you enjoy building, there's quality surveyor apprenticeships also available by these building firms. Other than that, if you're willing to let go of getting a degree, you can also get what's known as a higher apprenticeship. And this is basically you don't get a degree, but they can make it more specialized. So let's say that you like working on a very, very specific, let's say that you love being a chef. You could do something like that. They may not get a degree at the end, but if that's something that you enjoy, that's also an alternative. But mainly for the degree apprenticeships, you're looking at building, civil engineering, normal engineering, mechanical engineering, electrical engineering, computer science, business, law, accounting. If these are some career choices that you want to go into, then degree apprenticeships, there's going to be an apprenticeship out there for you.
One question.
Yeah.
Is it only private sectors that do the apprenticeship?
Government sectors also do it. So, but I think from the government sectors, their requirements are that you need to be a citizen, and there might be some other requirements, but government also offers them.
And
So
the same kind of setup?
Yes, it's basically the same setup because they follow a standard that the companies got together and built. So they follow that standard. So it's an agreed standard. Yes.
We're going to use some more slides. I have a question.
Okay, so we'll have a question session at the end as well. So, okay. So just we're about to end. So what should you do next? For those who are in A levels or those who are studying, study and work hard, because I know there's going to be a lot of people that are going to say, oh, you know what, your grades don't matter. But actually, put the phone down, put the Instagram down, and start working hard and studying hard. Because when you go into that interview and you have good grades, you're going to feel confident in yourself. And these firms, they're looking for people who are good at problem solving. So you want to be good at, studying and working because you're going to university. So you need to be good at studying. And also check the requirements of the firms. So JLR, for example, they have lower requirements. So they say you just need 2 C's with 1 C in maths or a B and a C at A level. But that's not the case for all the firms. So some firms might say that we want an ABB or we want BBB. So it depends from firm to firm, but I would say get the best grade that you possibly can. It will give you confidence and it will improve your chances. So the next bit is plan. So make a list of the firms that you want to apply for, what you want to actually do. Make a CV around those and see if the nature of those firms is okay Islamically. And related to that, build a CV and a cover letter because the majority of these apprenticeships, they will require a CV or a cover letter. So at the time of application, you want to have that. I think most applications open around January, so you have around a month to prepare for that. Practice interview skills. So find someone in your family and torture them. don't, not literally, but like someone who's got a career in like engineering, you might want them to ask you like a few questions around engineering and why you want to do it, just for your own preparation.
Or they can contact you
Or they can contact me. Yeah, torture me.
and torture you.
Brush up on your maths and English skills. This is actually super important because the moment you make your online application, they're going to send you a bunch of tests. And basically, if you perform well in this test, it's almost guaranteed that they're going to give you like the next offer to come to their assessment center for their interviews. So brush up on your maths and English skills, especially quick maths, percentages. I know kids hate that, but percentages, fractions, things such as that. And work on projects as well. So if you want to go into somewhere like business, do a fundraiser, arrange some event, basically something that you can talk about. If you want to go into engineering, buy something like an Arduino or build a robot or build a rocket. It's not rocket science. Or if you want to go into software engineering, you can do a project with regards to software engineering using something like Python, C++, a bunch of languages. But basically, it would give you something to talk about, and you would show to the employer that you're interested in the thing, because they want to check, is this kid like, are they interested in what we are offering? Do they want to do it? Do they even have an idea of what to do? And do they have the potential to learn? And so this would be a great way to prove that. Ask for help. Of course, my email's there, my number's there. If you need to know other websites, if you need to know places or how to apply, or let's say that you're going to an assessment center and you just need some tips, then let me know. If you want me to review the CV or cover letter, if you want me to send you like a template, also let me know. I can send you something. And that's it. The last bit is how they help you avoid riba. So just to give you some context, under the current scheme, the current interest rate on the student loans is the RPI plus 3%. Last year, they actually had to cap it at 7.3%. And apply that so the annual tuition fees is 9,250, not 2,500. 9,250, that's your tuition fees. And then on top of that, you have your maintenance costs. But with the degree apprenticeship, obviously the 9,250 is taken care of. You get a salary, so your maintenance costs are more than covered, because most places they start at like 16,000, and that's way more. That should be more than enough to cover your maintenance costs, especially if you're living as a university student.
You work in Leicester or JLR?
I commute to work,
Okay.
but I decided to stay with my friends. It's more cost effective. But yeah, so I did the addition, and students are borrowing somewhere from 13,500 to like 22,000 every single year to go to university. But that's not the main issue here, because technically that could be 100,000. The main issue is that you're having to borrow that money from a loan which is not Islamically permissible. And so degree apprenticeships are a great offer because your tuition fees are covered, you get a salary, so you're basically far away from all of this. And Salar, would you like to?
Yeah, so about the student loans, I mean, people have asked about the student loans and the ruling on it. And I believe that there is, I wouldn't say a lot of confusion, because I feel like a lot of people don't feel comfortable with it anyway. But there are certain groups of people who are saying that student loans are permissible, either because there's a necessity, or they try and make some kind of analogy to al-mudaraba. Al-mudaraba basically is a business partnership where a person has a silent investor, and the person who is employed goes off and works, and whatever profit that is made, this is what mudaraba is, not the student loans. Whatever profit is made is then shared between the silent investor and the worker. So some people have tried to draw an analogy between that and this, but there is no analogy, not even by a far stretch. And the reason why is because when it comes to business partnerships, there is an opportunity of profit and an opportunity of loss. The students' loan company call themselves the student loans company, and they are saying that they are actually giving you a loan. So in order for you to interpret that as a business partnership is completely impossible and impermissible. They've called it inflation. According to Islamic law, and this is the view of all four of the madhabs, if you have taken a loan, anything which is paid on top of that loan, which is extra, whether you call it inflation or otherwise, is riba. If I give you 1,000, I want 1,001 pence, you are included in gone to war with Allah. Sahih Bukhari, he reported the Messenger of Allah said, on the day of judgment, the person who used to engage in riba, there's so many narrations, he will be given his weapons. So the person, imagine day of judgment, standing there, weapons will be brought in front of him. And what are these weapons for? This is the day of Hisab, what the weapon is for. And then this ayah will be quoted to that person. You took Allah and His Messenger with riba to war in the dunya, now here's your weapons, fight Allah on this day. Now. Therefore, the ulama have taken this very seriously. And like we said in the introduction, they've said that there is no necessity for riba. Now, this is also another very important principle. So now we've covered the student loans. They've called it a loan. It is a loan. You're paying back extra. It's not permissible. But here we have an issue of necessity, right? Because people will say, well, there's a necessity for education, there's a necessity for housing, there's a necessity for transport. I need to get some kind of a loan in order for me to function, in order for me to have a house, so I'll get a mortgage, etc. Now, we're not here to talk about all of that because that is obviously very complicated, but here is something which is really important that we have to understand. The ulama in Islam, and again, it's all across the board from the madhab, there's no difference of opinion on it. I've said that if there is a necessity, then haram can become permissible as long as there is no alternative. As long as there is no alternative. A person is starving. In front of him, he has haram food. We all know that the person is now permitted to eat this as long as he's actually starving to the point of death. But if an alternative is available, you can't say that this is now a darura or a necessity. When you've got these alternatives, there is no option for a person to say, well, I'm going to get involved in a riba-based contract, or even if we say at the very least, a contract where there is doubt. So that's all I wanted to say. Again, I don't want to make it lengthy. I think the ayat and the hadith which talk about riba are well known to us all, and this is probably the reason why we're here. Really, I think we're more interested in what Abdulah has to say about the scheme. And as you have heard, it's pretty straightforward and pretty simple. So he's got the floor now open for questions if you have questions.
Yes, brother.
Quite a few questions.
Yeah, sure.
First question is, can you do a degree apprenticeship if you have already gotten into a level 3 apprenticeship at one of the companies?
Yes, you should be able to. The best way, because this is a very special case, so the best way to do this would be to email their HR department, because a level 3 basically means A levels. So email their HR department and say, this is the apprenticeship that I have done. Can I apply for this scheme? If it's related, if that level 3 apprenticeship fulfills like maths requirements, so they will say, yes, come on and apply. And yeah, so you should be able to. It depends on the HR department, so you can email them.
The second question is, normally is the firm that you're working with and the university in the same city or neighboring city, or you have sometimes travel hundreds of miles?
So if it is far away, so in our case, it's in the same city or very close. But if it is far away, because we have some other company that sends their, it's called Thales, they send their employees to work and they operate themselves in Kent. So what they do is they book a hotel for their employees. They handle all the expenses of the company. They give them a certain budget for food and everything, which is way above like what you need for food. I mean, you could get a breeze in that 1 week if you wanted to, because that's how much money they give you. And you know, they pay you even for the miles that you travel or any tickets expenses. So if it's far away, then the company would cover it. But most likely it's going to be close.
And the pay scale that you get as the employee of that company, would it be in line with your job title, or would it be like, as I said, you're doing 4 days a week work and then 1 day of study?
Yeah.
Would it be like according to the hours that you're putting in?
So in that case, it would be according to the hours that you're putting in, but the hours are including the university hours as well. So that 40 hours. So when it says £25,000 will pay you, they will pay you £25,000. Even though 80% of that will be work, 20% of that will be study, because by law, if you want to offer a degree apprenticeship by law, you need to offer that. So if it says £25,000, you're getting £25,000, but the government is probably going to charge you tax as it.
Would that sort of that contract be a kind of full-time contract?
Yes, yes. So you would be,
According to labor law.
yeah, it would be according to labor laws. You'd be classed as a full-time employee. Yeah, yes.
I still have two questions. What if the student midway through the apprenticeship decides, hang on, I don't want to do this engineering, maybe I want to do something else?
So if it's within the same, so you know how we mentioned the different pathways. So sometimes after 2 years, some students say that, we don't want to do this pathway, we want to do some other pathway. They just get in touch with the company, they just switch pathways. If you want to do something entirely different, then you can leave the program. What that would mean is that you wouldn't get the degree, but you can leave the program and then you can apply for a different program if it's entirely different that you want to do. Like for example, if you want to go into business, but you've been doing engineering, you'd have to leave the firm or leave the country.
What if the person as an employee is no longer wanted by that company? The company says, no, we don't want you anymore.
So in most cases, so they can technically remove you, but in most cases, what they do is they wouldn't remove you unless the company is just going completely bankrupt. In most cases, at the very least, what they would do is they would say, listen, we're unable to. Now, this is a very, very rare case. This happens very rarely, but if it does happen, what they might tend to do is, listen, we've got like a few other firms that are offering the same thing, at the same university. You can take a transfer to them. So you continue at that university. Let's say that you completed 2 years. You apply to that firm, and they will start you from the third year. So that can happen, but it's very, very rare. In most cases, they keep you on.
And last question, sorry.
So,
At the end of the week, I mean, when you work 4 days of the week,
yeah,
do you have the energy to go to the university and study for that one day?
Yeah.
I mean, practically speaking.
yeah. I mean, I know some people think that it's taxing, but to be honest, it's not that bad, studying and working at the same time, because people work five days a week. It's like if you take that one day of the week out and you study on that one day of the week, it's not really taxing. It's like they're not making you study on Saturday. They're making you study on Friday. Does that make sense?
But the studies must be intensive, right? As in, like you only study once a week.
Well, so they tend to be a bit more intensive. So in a normal course, they might be a bit more relaxed. So normally what students might have is like, oh, my lessons start at 10, they end at 1, then I have a 2-hour break, then I have 2 hours of lesson. In this case, if you have university, most likely what it would be is lessons from 9 to 12, and then a 1-hour break, then 1 to 4. So it's 3-hour lectures, so 6 hours worth of lectures. But this is very efficient, and I personally prefer that way of learning rather than having large gaps in between.
So, did you work for Jaguar?
Yeah.
So what was the cohort? How many people did they accept in that year? Second question is, what are the chances of getting this apprenticeship? Are there any statistics out there? For example, how many applicants and how many accepted, how many move on like that?
Yeah. So with regards to my cohort, there were about 90 places, but this was because it was in the midst of a recession. And like the company was also not doing well financially. They were losing like 500 million a year. But the previous year, I think they hired like 200, something like 100, quite a few apprentices they hired. So Warwick got a really good payday as well. And normally I would say that there are statistics. So sometimes they say that there's certain companies that might say like, oh, we got 4,000 applications and we only had a few seats. But the thing is that a lot of people just randomly apply. There are a lot of people that will just apply to any job out there, and so they'll get an instant rejection. So I wouldn't personally go for the numbers, but I think in my year, they estimated that there were about 1,000 applications. 92 of them got a place.
Throughout the whole program. So any company throughout the UK,
Yeah.
what's the success rate?
I wouldn't have an exact number for that, but I would reckon it would be around from application to the point of offer, it would be around 5 to 6%. But you need to remember, this is not the same as university, because when you're applying for university, they actually check before you send your application about your grades and things, and if you can actually apply. In this case, you might have people on the internet that are just applying randomly. And so a lot of people get knocked out in that first stage. So I wouldn't be discouraged by that figure. In most cases, I would say like if you're good at studying, if you're like technically competent, or if you like what you want to do, I would say you wouldn't want to worry about that.
The standard apprenticeship that you get for the degree one.
Yeah.
They have this situation where you do the apprenticeship, you work, after the apprenticeship's completed.
Mhm.
Company says, right, you now need to go and find your way for a job or whatever, or you might not have a job here.
Right.
Okay. In this situation,
Mhm.
obviously companies invest in money in terms of paying you the university. Is that a guarantee then that the company will say, you know what, after you've completed everything, you've graduated, there you go, we've got a space.
It depends on firm to firm. So, for example, JLR, if you pass your degree, you are guaranteed to get an offer as an engineer or as a business analyst based on what you do. Other firms might say that if you get a 2-2, then we will give you an offer and you 100% you get an offer. Other firms might say that we will give you an offer based on our demand. And in that case, I've seen that 70% of apprentices tend to stay on and 30% leave by themselves. So that 70% doesn't mean that like they're rejecting 30%. That might be that after that time, 30% decide that, oh, you know what, I want to apply somewhere else. And they might leave themselves. But it's not hard to get a job after you have 4 years of experience. Because remember, you'll be open to graduate jobs as well. So you can apply to the graduate companies with 4 years of experience with that degree, or you could actually just go for a normal company at a normal position with the 4 years of experience. So you have quite a
One
few.
more question is, from what you know, do NHS do apprenticeships like this?
I believe NHS do a nursing one. They are introducing a medical doctor apprenticeship, but that's in 2025, so not quite yet. But I do think that they do midwifery and nursing.
I was gonna ask you, do they do midwifery?
Yeah, yeah. I've seen midwifery. So on the government website, you should be able to see. Is there a question? As Ustadh said, if 1 pence is added, then this is riba for you.
Okay, so a question here from one of the sisters. If 1 pence is added, then it's riba. Does that also imply when you go to the shop and pay something card and actually it adds extra fee card payment? If the person is charging you for the payment, for the process of the payment, that is not connected to the loan. If a loan brings about an extra payment where you owe that person connected to the loan itself, then that is riba. Without any kind of difference of opinion between the ulama on this, Ibn Mundhir, rahimahullah, so that there is ijma from all of the scholars on this, that any kind of loan that is given, even if it's a slight adding to the amount that you owe that person, then that is riba. But the person is asking here, if you have to pay a process fee or admin fee, the ulama have said that as long as that admin fee is actual, then that is not connected to riba, it's not connected to the loan.
Yes.
I know they also do the paid employment opportunity at the level 3. So, you know, for some of
Yes,
us,
yeah.
the older students or the parents, you know, you get your, I'm glad you mentioned that the matter is so important.
Yeah.
You know, to get, which is now grade 5, 4 and above. And introducing the T-level soon, inshallah.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, that, but in your case, or for some of your colleagues, you know, they also go through a level 3 apprenticeship, which then included the degree apprenticeship, or did they have that two separate sort of contracts with the employers? Because some employers do also offer students from GCSE high school to get paid, get a qualification and everything. And then if they want, or sometimes we do a contract.
It's very good that you bring that up, because I do know of one guy, I believe he did start it from a level 3, and it does take, the process does take longer. So he started his degree apprenticeship when he was 21 then. So he started with a level 3 contract, then they moved him up, again, and now he's on a level 6 contract. But he gets paid more than his colleagues because he's been with the company longer, and I think he's probably going to become a manager once the moment he graduates. So but you'd want to ask the company at the interview process, like, what opportunities do I have? I'm going for this level 3 apprenticeship. Can I move up to a level 6 to a level 4 after this? So it can depend, but I do know of someone who has done that.
So he graduates at what age, roughly 24?
He graduates about 26.
26.
Sorry, 25.
25, so as a manager straight away at that age.
Yeah, and because of
On
how
that
much
salary.
experience he's got. Yeah,
sure.
he's got quite a bit of experience now.
It's fine. There's people going into university
Yeah,
and they're leaving at around about that age.
yeah, exactly.
This person's already questioned.
Mhm.
That is relevant on your website. And also, if your kids are in college, they'll have an idea of what websites, to look at for apprenticeships and sort of that. Question is, why did you go for why did you go for the course that you were going for? And also the workload. How are you managing it? Do you get support? Is it coursework based? Is it assessments? Do you do a dissertation at the end? How is it? Is it traditional work or is it more like when you say apprenticeship, like coursework? What is it? Is that right? Yeah, so what's the workload? How much yeah. Is it lenient or is it more like the traditional way of studying a degree?
Yeah.
Not one who, so they're choosing one people to career path. I think as a careers advice company.
Right.
I went in.
Also, it's not some also like some advice, careers advice in why you'd go for that sort of route. That we say in playing that such. Yeah. Okay, why do you go to the field you're going?
Yeah.
So if we've got some young lads who want to see what are the characteristics and things that we need to look in our children to see that they're interested in, and we can harness that. Yeah.
Okay, so loaded question. So the first point so the sister gave me some information that I didn't know. So NHS also offers apprenticeships on pharmacy. I think you said biomedical sciences. So it's important. It's good to explore that part of it. The second question was why did I go for this? It's because around that time I found out that riba was not permissible, and so I knew, and for my family there was pressure to apply anyways to university. So what I did was, and yeah, I don't think you should replicate this, but I made my university application pretty bad. I had good grades, but I could make my personal statement really bad. So I didn't get. So I still got offers, but I didn't get offers from like Oxford or Imperial or anything like that. And so that was one thing that I did. And then the second thing that I did was I really wanted to do software engineering, computer science. I didn't do computer science at A level, but I wanted to do software engineering and computer science. So I applied to all of these. I think I applied to like 40. I was going crazy on the application bit. But alhamdulillah, I got into JLR. That was the one that I wanted to go into. But my strategy was that anyone who gives me an offer, I'll just say yes to it. But I think JLR was the first one to give me an offer, so I just accepted it before she even completed her sentence. And then there were a few other questions.
What's the assessments like? Is it
yes. Yeah, so assessments for year 3 and year 4, majority were coursework. In fact, majority of your assessments will be coursework. Very rarely would you have an exam. But if you do have an exam, this would be during university time. This wouldn't be in the weekend. So majority of it would be coursework. And I think another question was regarding the workload, because obviously you're doing a degree and you're working at the same time. The workload is still very manageable. So if I, for example, were to ask my manager, so right now the team is under quite a bit of stress, but even right now, I know that if I were to ask my manager, listen, I need to complete this bit of coursework, he would say, you know what, just dedicate 2 or 3 days, like for the coursework, it's fine. Complete your coursework, then come back to the team, continue delivering. I've noticed like from day one, you're gonna have like a chorus of support, because the companies tend to have like a specific team just to support degree apprenticeships. Then you have your manager, then you have your colleagues, and then you have the university itself. So there's a lot of people that you can go and talk to. You know, if you're feeling a bit overburdened, then they can even move you around from team to team, if that's the case.
I've got a question on support. You said that academically you've got a lot of support, but like Islamically, do you get a lot of support? Isn't like, are you able to establish your salawat?
Yeah.
Is Jumu'ah an issue? Alhamdulillah, the course that you've taken, I wouldn't imagine that there's any mixing involved.
Yeah. Well,
Things like music and like even like sometimes when you're working amongst a certain category of men, you'll find them, you know, being very vulgar in the way they speak and things like that. So have you experienced any kind of issues Islamically for yourself?
Well,
or even prejudice as well, maybe?
Well, as a man, probably not prejudice, but
No, I mean towards you as your religion.
as in, yeah, I see what you mean. So on the very first day, so my manager, he's Hindu, I believe, I think, and on the very first day, I just asked him like, "Where's the prayer hall?" He didn't know where it was, but he actually got someone else from the team to try to go around with me and try and find the prayer hall. Took about like 5 minutes. We had to run around the whole building, but we found the prayer hall. And there is a proper Islamic society at JLR. And this tends to be the case for the major companies where there's a proper Islamic society, there's a prayer hall. And in fact, when they were building their latest building, they actually had it planned specifically. So that even has like wudu facilities in the back. So with regards to Salah, most companies are very, very open, especially the larger companies. Nobody's going to say anything. Either out of respect or out of fear of like making it on like the boycotting list, I guess. So with regards to salawat, it's good. Engineering, it's a very male-dominated field. So remixing, like in my team, I think out of like 44 people, there's like 3 women or 4 women, something like that. And most of them, they don't even come into office. So the free mixing on that side is very, very minimal. With regards to vulgarity, there's strong company policies. You know, if someone says something to you that, you know, it's clearly like stepping bounds, then you can just report them to HR and there's a full investigation. It doesn't matter where that person is. That could be the CEO or the CFO if you're interacting with those people. But
what about Jumu'ah? Because it seems
Yeah.
that your schedule is very rigid.
yeah, so with Jumu'ah, there's Jumu'ah on site. Again, if you're working for a larger company, there's going to be Muslims on site, and you can easily negotiate with your manager. Like, listen, I just need 45 minutes out. I need an hour out for Jumu'ah. If you're going to a different mosque, I know that in one of the Coventry sites, they don't have this prayer hall on site, or they don't have like a large enough place on site. So they actually go to a mosque nearby. So they actually leave the place, go to the mosque, and then come back. So again, for Jummah, I've never experienced an issue. Alhamdulillah, I haven't had to miss Jummah because of work. The workload can get intense, so it might be cases that you're just making it in time for khutbah, but I wouldn't say there's any major issues in that regards. Yes.
Something, so alongside apprenticeships, the Department of Education also got a back to IT kind of program going on, which I actually took myself. So it's Python programming. So, and then I've got IT background, so I was able to use my coding knowledge for that. But people start from square one, and unfortunately I didn't get a chance to finish it, but I'm back with it again starting in 4 days' time. So people who are not, people who don't get a chance to get apprenticeships, just Google the DFE, paid scholarships, and also people who are older like me can also get a chance to kind of branch out to the other parts of IT. That's available.
With regards to the age bit, people can apply at any age for these apprenticeships. They're not age limited, because I think I know of people who applied in their 30s, and I think some people even applied with the family. I know someone who got a degree and then they decided to apply, so at like the age of 27. So the age is not an issue, and with regards to the skills as well. So let's say that you don't know how to program in Python, that's not a requirement. So if you can show that you understand what computer science is, and the basis of it is problem solving, I'm not going to go too much into it, but if you can understand that if you can explain that you understand what's going on, what the subject is, and you can show that you like it, you're passionate about it, that's more than enough. Of course, having some skills is good, but you're going to get trained around that. I think there was one more question on the sister side, wasn't there? Like you said one more thing at the end. I forgot. Yeah. Yeah.
What subject should I say to you? you better have a look at these
Yeah.
subjects.
I would say the most critical subject, and some people might hate this, the most critical subject is maths. If you want to go into engineering, business, software engineering, maths is very, very important. I think accounting as well requires maths. Law might not, but maths is one of those subjects that if you want to go down the engineering pathway, you must do. Physics is also a good subject. If you're good at physics, if you like physics, especially for engineering, they would really prefer you to have physics. If you're just going for engineering, computer science is a good subject, but I didn't do it at A levels. I got into it. A lot of people didn't do it at A levels. It's not a necessary subject. But the most important subject I would say would be maths. And I guess if you want to go into something like law, you can search the name of the firm up. So, and then you could just search the entry requirements and they will actually show you what the academic requirements are. So yeah, maths is the most important though, if you want to go into engineering, and then physics.
Any more questions?
Yeah, one question. It's for you, Ustadh, but basically, I think in about a year's time, there's gonna be, I think, was it, riba-free student loans? And then if someone wants to, for example, become a dentist or a doctor, I'm very sure that there aren't many, like apprenticeship options when it comes to this. But then I'm not talking about going into riba, but can one then obviously go into get a student loan to obviously if he wants to become a doctor or a dentist?
When it comes to contracts, business contracts, financial contracts, every single contract has to be reviewed for what it is. Because it doesn't physically exist yet, a ruling cannot be placed on it. So I would just say, just wait to see what happens, because they might say that it's not riba based, but it could be. So I think just the best thing to do is to wait and see what happens. If you are in a rush, this is another thing that we actually helped a person with when we gave them advice. They wanted to go into dentistry actually, and they said we need to get a student's loan. So my advice to them was, well, are you able to take a year out, 2-3 years out, in order for you to work, save up the money, and then pay for it cash? And they said, yeah. So there's always an option. There's always an option. So I mean, if it is halal, then inshallah. If it's not halal, then there's going to be an alternative, inshallah.
With regards to medicine, I know someone, he has a British passport, but he's doing medicine in Egypt right now. And it costs there about £3,000 a year for tuition fees. And then his maintenance fees are about £300 a month. So that's British.
But I recognize here.
Yeah, so with regards to if you get a medicine degree, you just have to do an exam. And then you can start working as a doctor in the UK. So there are international options as well.
Barakallah feekum. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that He makes this means of goodness for us and for the youth. And we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to bless our brother Abdullah. If you've got any questions, you've got his details on the handout. سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك اشهد ان لا اله الا انت استغفرك واتوب اليك